Hi guys, Stanley here, and I'm really excited about this new piece I just finished yesterday. You can see it on the screen behind me. It's called Shafts of Sunlight Through Stained Glass Windows. And I figured it would probably be good for me to record this video today because I'm always most excited about a piece of music when I just finish it. And this piece I literally just finished yesterday. I started at the beginning of the month, although there were a few days I wasn't able to work on it because I moved to a new place. But I started out the month thinking about what I was going to do because I had this idea for this YouTube channel that every month I will write a short chamber piece, and it would be something different each month. And I would keep it short, I'd keep it a chamber piece, so that's something that's easily completable in a short amount of time, and that would be a little bit easier to get together and get a recording of the piece. Now this particular piece of recording will have to wait, but I expect to get one soon, even if I have to just multi-track it. So at the beginning of the month I was asking myself, what should I write this month? And I had a couple of ideas that sparked the generation of this piece. And one of them was I listened again to Steve Braddock's Music for 18 Musicians, which is a lovely piece. I really enjoy listening to the piece. It's a long piece. It's a 1 hour piece of a lot of repetitive stuff. You can't listen to the piece without going into a trance. And I think that's one of the reasons why I like it, but it's not just for that reason. It's just I love the textures and the sounds that are used throughout this piece of music, and it's just mesmerizing to listen to. I like how it slowly evolves over time, but I particularly like that repeated mallet rhythm that's in that piece. So I thought, you know, I should do something with that. Take that little Sullivan idea, you know, obviously go in a different direction with it, but see what that sparks. So that was one idea, one train of thought. The other idea came when I was watching a video by composer David Bruce. If you don't know of him, look him up on YouTube. He has this wonderful YouTube channel. Just look up David Bruce Composer. A lot of very great and informative videos on there. And I was watching one about John Adams. And John Adams is one of my favorite composers of all time. And in fact, 3 of his pieces are like some of my favorite pieces of all time. Lollapalooza, Short Ride in the Fast Machine, Shaman Dances. Those pieces are such a joy to listen to. I get a lot out of it every single time I listen to them. But he also wrote this piece called Phrygian Gates, and this is no disrespect at all to John Adams because I am a huge fan. I just never really liked that piece. I heard it once, I thought it was probably about 20 minutes too long, and I just never heard it again. But David Bruce talked about the piece, and he said, well, the piece is structured according to the circle of fifths. And I was like, oh, that's an interesting idea. Maybe I could take that idea and do my own thing with it. And then I listened again to Phrygian Gates, you know, keeping in mind what David Bruce talked about. And I still felt like it was probably 20 minutes too long, but at least I had a greater appreciation for that particular piece. And sometimes classical music is that way. It might take multiple listenings to really start to understand and digest a piece of music. Maybe if I heard it 5 more times, I would start to love it. So I used that idea. And then I thought about doing something with brass. I hadn't written anything for chamber brass in a while, and I'm a brass player. So I thought, well, what if I combine that little Sullivan idea of the repeated mallet percussion with antiphonal brass and structure it according to the circle of fifths, like the way Phrygian Gates is structured. So I decided that each section, remember I wanted to keep the piece short, so I didn't want to write a 27-minute piece like Phrygian Gates or an hour-long piece like Music for 18 Musicians. I wanted to keep it short. I decided 4 minutes was probably a good time for a couple of reasons. Number one, I wanted to be able to finish a piece in a short amount of time. And number two, because it's brass players do get tired if it's a lot of intense playing, and then chamber music does tend to be a lot of intense playing. I don't want to wear my brass players out. So the piece is written in a way to give them some break between sections, and I don't think it'll be too much. The horn player might complain, we'll see. Yeah, so that has to be a consideration when you write as well. So I decided to keep these sections short. So each section is 22 bars. There's no magic behind the number 22. I just decided on 22 bars because I took my tempo and divided it by 7 sections and that was about how many bars I could do to keep the piece about 4 minutes long. So in the first section we're in basically the key of C, about as simple as it gets. Then it moves to F, or F Lydian, then it goes diatonically to B, B Locrian, and down to E Phrygian, A Aeolian, D Dorian, and then finally G Mixolydian before cadencing back into C major. The piece is almost entirely diatonic. It is like 99.99% diatonic. The only chromaticism you see is in the very last chord of the climax. I wanted to give it a little bit extra punch and crunch, I guess you could say, before cadencing back into C major. And so that's the only chromaticism, other than, you know, just some passing tones in one part of the song, one part of the piece. I'm correcting myself. But overall, it's pretty much 99.9% diatonic. So it's very simple. Harmonically, it's very simple. But listening to it, you don't really hear it in that way, because one of the things I like to play with, and what I was playing with in this piece, is playing with these antiphonal brass. With phasing and delay effects between both sides, like stereo delay. Now that's not a new thing. Composers have been playing around with that since the Renaissance period. It's been around a long time. It doesn't make it any less cool. It's still cool when you hear it. And so that was one of the things I was playing with in the piece. And also within each ensemble, because there are 3 brass on either side. We got horn, we got trumpet, horn, and trombone on this side, trumpet, horn, and trombone on this side. And even within each ensemble, there is delay. So in the opening section, they don't just come in on a C major chord, for example. The trumpet starts, no, actually, I'm sorry, the trombone starts, then the horn comes in, then the trumpet comes in, and then they're going to neighboring tones, but at different intervals and at different time intervals from each other. And so we have this overall effect of like a cluster chord, but really it's just a C major chord with some added chord tones. You know, we got the added 6th, 7th, and 9th added to that texture. And it's that way basically throughout the entire piece, which helps to keep it from having kind of a simplistic naivety to the piece. I think it still sounds sophisticated when you hear the piece. So overall, I think the effect is really cool. It's really interesting. I really hope you enjoy the piece. It's really just for fun. Yeah, let me know what you think.